Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to pick number 13 of my favorite 30 rock solo albums of all time. We're counting down each and every day here in November 2023, 30 days in the month. Our 30 favorite solo albums from notable folks from notable bands going out on their own for a solo album. Maybe they did many, right? Maybe they did just one. But we're going to pick them, right? We're going to pick the ones that we like. This particular one is the debut solo album from this guitarist, songwriter, singer, released August 28th, 1989, recorded at various studios all around California, produced by a whole slew of people, including the man himself, Steve Lukather, released on Columbia Records. Lukather, by Steve Lukather, of course, guitarist, vocalist, songwriter from Toto. This is the first of a good amount of solo records that he's put out over the course of his career. This one will be followed up by Candyman in 1994. And basically, this comes at a time where Toto, after being so big for the very latter stages of the 70s all throughout the mid-80s, pretty big band, but at this point in time just really can't get arrested here, especially in the States. And Toto's stock had kind of sunk quite a bit. So Steve had brought a good chunk of these songs to the writing sessions for Toto, and most of these songs got kind of rejected as not being perfect for Toto. So he's like, well, you know what? I'll do a solo album. And so he did. Funny enough, you listen to most of this album, and I've always thought, since this first came out, it's like, wow, a lot of these would have made great Toto songs. So on the album, we've got Steve basically doing a lot of stuff, and a cast of literally hundreds, not really. Steve Lukather on lead vocals, backing vocals, guitars, keyboards, drum programming, acoustic guitars, all sorts of things here. We've got, let's see, I'm not going to name everybody because there's a million people playing on this album, but some notable people. Jan Hammer's on here, Randy Goodrum's on here on keyboards, also co-writes a bunch of songs. We got a lot of works with a lot of folks co-writing these songs, which is really cool. David Paich, of course, from Toto's on here as well. Steve Stevens on guitar is on this album. Danny Korchmar's on here. Who else? Notable names. Michael Landau's on here. Eddie Van Halen's on here. Will Lee is on here. Randy Jackson's on here. Leland Sklar is on here. Prairie Prince. Jeff Porcaro. Lenny Castro. Richard Marx, a lot of people on backing vocals on here. Tommy Funderbunk, Ivan Neville, a lot of people on here. A lot of guest stars on this album. And like I said, a lot of co-writers. And what's interesting is when you really kind of look at who co-wrote a lot of these tracks, you can feel their influence in the flavors of their songwriting if you know what those other artists have done, right? So Twist the Knife is the first track, which starts it off really good rocker, co-written with Eddie Van Halen. And even though Eddie doesn't play on it, he plays bass on one track, but he doesn't play guitar on this, you can totally hear the Van Halen influence on this song. Really, really good song. I would say any Van Halen fan who has not heard Twist the Knife by Steve Lukather, go check it out. You'll really dig it. It's very catchy as well. Good rocker. Swear You Love is co-written Steve and Richard Marx. Really good melodic rock, kind of like AOR track. Excellent chorus. The melodies and the harmonies throughout this whole album are so good. Steve Lukather has always been great at writing fantastic vocal melodies. And all throughout this album, really catchy choruses. Even though this album does rock, might be one of his more rocking solo albums, but it's definitely in that kind of melodic rock AOR vein. Excellent stuff. Swear You Love, excellent track. Again, why none of these songs were released as singles or pushed as singles. I mean, I guess that's what happens with a lot of solo artists, right? Or solo records. So unless you're a mega star, things kind of fall under the radar a little bit. Fall Into Velvet is 9 minutes long. That's really cool. Co-written with Steve Stevens. And that's this kind of moody, kind of fusion-y, prog-y, hard rock piece. Really good. A lot of blazing back and forth guitar solos between the two Steves. Excellent track. I believe Eddie Van Halen plays bass on that particular one. Actually, no, he plays bass on the first track that I mentioned, Twist the Knife, the one that he co-wrote. So he doesn't play guitar, but he plays bass. So Fall Into Velvet, excellent song. Drive a Crooked Road, another great rocker here. Lukather co-writes with Danny Korchmar. And that's kind of if you like the Toto Kingdom of Desire album, which came out a few years later, Drive a Crooked Road would have fit right on there. In fact, I think a lot of the tracks on this album are very similar in tone to what we would hear on the Kingdom of Desire album, which is basically the Toto album where the band kind of let Steve be the driving force with the songwriting and vocals and things like that. Drive a Crooked Road, excellent. Got My Way, another really good melodic rocker here, co-written by Randy Goodrum and Michael Landau with Steve. Darkest Night of the Year, another Steve Stevens co-write, also another good rocker there. Lonely Beat in My Heart, the whole second half of it's like more of the hard rockers are on the front half, and the second are more of the melodic AOR stuff, the more catchier, like hook-oriented stuff. Lonely Beat in My Heart, co-written with Diane Warren. What a great chorus, so good. Scream's hit single, right? With a Second Chance, might be the catchiest song on the album. Another good drum co-write. What a chorus, so good. Turns to Stone follows that. It Looks Like Rain, and then Stepping on Top of Your World finishes it up, and that's more of kind of like a kind of bluesy hard rocker, but still with lots of hooks and things. Just a dynamite album, really, really good album. And Steve's got a lot of really strong solo albums, but I always kind of fall back to this one as my favorite. So, and of course, as you can imagine, no charting position anywhere. Sadly, boo. And nothing listed as being released as singles, which, like I said, is a real shame because I think a lot of what's on here is very, very accessible. And if you've never heard this album, again, this might be somewhat obscure to many of you, although probably most of you know who Steve Lukather is. I would argue this is a kind of a no-brainer pick because it is such a strong album, and there's just so much of it is just so inviting and memorable, like right from the first time you hear it. I remember like going way back when this first came out. I remember the first time I heard all this, like within like one spin, I was already kind of, those melodies and hooks and things are just kind of stuck in your head. And the guitar playing is wowzilla. I mean, this Lukather, for my money, is one of the most underrated guitar heroes of all time. It's like everybody knows him. Everybody's heard him play on a million records. Toto, Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie. I mean, Steve has been on so many albums. If you look at his musical bibliography or biography or discography, whatever you want to call it, look at all of his studio appearances. He's played on everything. So many of the great songs pop songs and rock songs that Steve Lukather might have had a part in them, right? That's just, he's done so much. But like I said, I remember like hearing this for the first time and thinking, wow, this is just so good. And I was a Toto fan. And to me, it's almost like an unsung Toto album without most of Toto, because it's just the feel. Again, it's a bit more rocking than what Toto normally did, but especially the catchy stuff would have made great Toto songs. So I dig it a lot. Let us know what you think of this in the comments below if you haven't heard it, or go check it out and let us know what you think. But more importantly, list your pick for today and down in the comments below. And visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also, down below, we get the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, and our Cameo page. Thanks in advance for all your support there. I always appreciate it. And we'll see you soon here. Don't touch that dial. We've got the UK, speaking of AOR Melodic Rock, we got the UK connection coming up in just a few short hours. We will be doing another one of our episodes on that. So we've got a couple really good albums, 3 of them, as a matter of fact, to talk about. So stay tuned. And tomorrow, ranking the albums of Pato, a very cool, kind of obscure hard rock and progressive rock band, featuring some spectacular guitar work for those of you who maybe like the work of Alan Holdsworth. He's not on this album, but a guy named Ollie Haskell is, and they were good friends. They're very similar to playing, and I think you'll probably dig some of these albums. So stay tuned for that, and lots more here on the channel. I'm Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy your weekend, but we'll see you real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.